Someone handed me a secret recording.
We've got to get rid of all those loose ends, okay?
For years now, I've been investigating this guy.
What, you stab her in the neck with a knife?
He's known as Mr. Big. His tentacles spread to the very heart of the justice system.
I don't just need it under the carpet, I need it to be fixed.
I'm Alicia Bridges. I find out who he really is in Mr. Big, a new true crime podcast from Unravel. Search for Unravel now on the ABC Listen app.
ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
Searching for answers, the Erin Patterson trial is venturing into the digital frontier. I'm the ABC's court reporter, Kristian Silva.
And I'm Stephen Stockwell. It is Wednesday the 21st of May and we've just finished the 15th day of this trial. Welcome to Mushroom Case Daily.
The small-town mystery that's gripped the nation and made headlines around the world.
Ms. Patterson admits she lied to police about foraging for mushrooms.
A doctor says he told Erin Patterson she could die without urgent treatment.
At the heart of this case will be the jury's interpretation of Erin Patterson's intentions.
It's a tragedy what's happened. I love them.
Okay, Kristian, before we get into the episode in chief, as I will describe it, can you give us a run-through of the events that happened today?
Stocky, we only heard from one witness today, the brilliantly named Shaman Fox Henry. He is a digital forensics analyst with Victoria Police, and he was looking through devices seized from Erin Patterson's home in the aftermath of the deadly lunch. We didn't actually get a full day of evidence in court today. The jury was out of the room for several hours due to legal discussions.
Thank you, Kristian. I want to get to some of the stuff around the legal discussions a bit later in the episode, but this is a point of the trial that I have been actually really looking forward to. This is something that was noted in the prosecution's opening, which is the statement they make at the start of the trial, kind of spelling out their case. We heard them talking about in that searches of Erin Patterson's house, how they'd recovered some electronics. There was a name mentioned at that point as well, Shaman Fox Henry. And today, Shaman Fox Henry, a digital forensics officer from the Victoria Police, was on the stand. Did we find out what was on those devices?
We only found out a little bit, and that's because Mr. Fox Henry's evidence has quite a long way to go. So what he said was in the aftermath of the lunch, there was a search in Erin Patterson's house. They seized phones and computers. And one of the computers that he talked about contained some hard drives, and then he looked through the hard drives, basically putting the data through a whole bunch of Victoria Police software that they use. Mm-hmm. And what he was doing was looking at internet search history.
Right.
He gave the court a pretty thorough lesson in computer technology, but to sort of sum it up, the evidence we heard today was that there were internet search records which showed that a computer in Erin Patterson's house visited the iNaturalist website about 14 months before the lunch, and also on that website visited a specific page which made references to death cap mushrooms being sighted in Melbourne.
Right.
Now, Stocky, I've been really precise about my language there, and that is very deliberate.
Okay, because, this is what we heard. So we heard that this device used the Bing search engine, which was probably one of the more interesting things that I'd heard in court today, to look for, iNaturalist, death cap mushrooms, also the Corumburra Middle Pub. Have I got that right?
Those were web searches. Mr. Fox Henry said that he was looking also through the data on all of these hard drives as well. So through the fancy Victoria Police software, he entered in some search terms for some keywords. So he was looking for terms like death cap mushroom, death cap mushrooms, mushrooms and poison.
Right. And this is just to help kind of narrow down the data that's being pulled off of these devices, right?
Yeah, because the implication would be that computer hard drives are filled with many, many, many files, and to make sense of this, you've got to limit the parameters to the search.
It's a bit more involved than kind of just scrolling through someone's internet search history. I imagine it seemed like certainly Shaman Fox Henry was talking about, the specialist tools and things that he was using to pull kind of all of the data out. So, a lot of results kind of coming forward from that. And just so we're clear, this is Erin's computer, her phone?
These are devices found in Erin's home.
Right, okay. And there was a phone as well that was mentioned briefly towards the end of the day?
Yeah, it sounds like Victoria Police not only looked at devices in Erin Patterson's home, but also looked at devices from the lunch guests. That's what it appears to be. There was a mention that they'd looked at Gail Patterson's phone and they'd found some text messages between Erin and Gail. These only flashed up on the screen for a brief second, so from what I could see, there appeared to be some pleasantries exchanged, but honestly, it was gone in a second, and I couldn't really tell you what they said to each other. But it was in the lead up to the lunch.
No dramas. And I mean, something I found really interesting about Shaman Fox Henry's evidence today is that, you know, we're talking about some of the evidence he was discussing, some of the things he found on these devices, the methods he used. But before we got going, his first kind of point of the day was this PowerPoint, which with the first slide, what is a computer? Which, you know, this flashed up and I immediately kind of like groaned because this is the level that we're kind of going into. But I guess this is an important moment. Like, we need to make sure the jury really understands the evidence that they're being shown and, you know, how everything fits together, right?
It's a similar theme to what we've seen from the other expert witnesses, you know, some of the medical witnesses and the mushroom expert, Funky Tom, Dr. Tom May, Professor Matthew Sorrell. They all sort of start the same way. I kind of liken it to, it's a bit like a funnel.
Mm-hmm.
The evidence starts really, really broad and top level, and then as we continue on, it filters and filters and filters, and eventually they kind of get to the point that the prosecution wants them to get to. So, yes, with Mr. Fox Henry, our wide starting point was, what is a computer? And I've got to say, when I saw that, I thought we might be in for a very long day.
Bit of a long day. There was also a discussion of what is a file, what is a folder. I was just getting flashbacks to talking to or trying to teach just some other people, basically. Let's not get specific about demographics. Some other people how to use a computer. So I imagine it's, you know, all part of the territory with Shaman Fox Henry.
To be fair, though, the presentation skipped along pretty quickly. After these preliminary slides, we got into some fairly technical terms.
Yeah, like caches and the like, right?
Caches, cookies, EML files, Windows timeline activity, private recovery URLs. So this lesson kind of went from 0 to 100 pretty quickly.
Yep. I think I did catch the prosecutor, Jane Warren, maybe giggling slightly when referring to cookies. Might have been, you know, late in the afternoon, about that sort of low blood sugar time.
Any hope for a mid-afternoon snack was dashed as the explanation was made clear.
Yeah. As well as the evidence that we heard from Shaman Fox Henry today, there was a lot of conversation without the jury. I think, you know, a couple of hours of discussion without them in the room this morning. Can we talk at all about what was going on then?
No.
Great. Can you give us anything at all about what was going on there, or some context as to why that might have been happening?
Well, these sorts of legal discussions are pretty common. They happen in trials. I think we talked last week, we said that at the start of the trial, we'd been getting basically full days of court and not really much time when the jury was out of the room during the sitting hours. And that has slowly changed as the evidence has progressed. And today was definitely the day with the longest period of the jury out of the room. For instance, you know, they start at 10:30, right? And they were out of the room till about 12:30. They heard about 30 minutes of evidence, and then they went out for the 1 o'clock lunch break. So it was a lot of time lost today.
Kristian, I'd love to get to some questions. We are continuing to get a wonderful amount at mushroomcasedaily at abc.net.au. If there's a question you have, there's something you're wondering about with this case, please get in touch. We love hearing from you, and the questions we can answer, we love answering. Kristian, I want to start with one from Christine. Her one's pretty straightforward. It's related to some of the phone location stuff we've been hearing over the last couple of days. Her question is, I feel like I'm missing something. Why do the phone records matter? It's hard for me to understand the why amidst all of the technical detail.
Thanks, Christine. Well, the prosecution says that posts about death cap mushrooms were made a couple of months before the lunch, and they were made in relation to Outram and Lock. And these are two areas that are fairly close to Erin Patterson's house. And they've given that evidence. And then what they've also done is tried to show the jury that Erin Patterson's phone has also visited Lock and Outram around the time when these posts were made, a couple of months before the lunch. So it's that connection there, or that attempted connection, I should say. And back to the phone tower evidence from yesterday, Defence Barrister Colin Mandy was very keen to point out that the analysis done by Dr. Matthew Sorrell does come with limitations. And Dr. Sorrell also conceded that his analysis cannot explicitly put a person at a specific location at a specific time, but it may give an indication that their phone was in the area.
Right. And am I right in thinking as well, while we have a lot of this kind of like disparate information, what seems like disparate information as we're going through this trial, a lot of that gets, kind of condensed and made really clear and like quite clearly signposted as we get towards closing arguments and the end of this trial.
That's right. We would expect that the closing arguments will be thorough, but also quite clear. And we expect that the prosecution and the defence will quite clearly explain to the jury what all of this evidence means. They've heard a lot over the last few weeks, and the topics have spanned, medical, science, communications. So we've had a bit of social media as well.
Yeah.
So it's been a fair bit.
Yeah. We have another question here from Quinn. They're asking, after yesterday's lesson in telecommunications, are jurors able to do extracurricular research? For instance, mobile phone data. They don't understand the testimony in court. Are they allowed to kind of go and like do a bit more of their own research, or are these kind of like expert information dumps in inverted commas, not my inverted commas, are those information dumps the only thing they can rely on?
Quinn, that would be a very dangerous thing to do. Justice Christopher Beal told the jury at the start of this trial that is something they should not do. The evidence that they need to consider is what is presented to the court. They got a prosecution opening at the beginning, which was a bit of a summary, and a defence reply. They've heard the evidence in chief, and they will get a closing argument. But what they must not do is conduct their own research, whether that's looking stuff up on the internet themselves or going to some of these places that have been mentioned in the trial. You're absolutely not to do that, and they would get in serious trouble if they did.
Yep. We actually had this underlined today by Justice Christopher Beal when we were talking, when Shaman Fox Henry was talking about the different websites. Justice Beal reminded the jury, don't go and Google these things, don't search these things yourself, just rely on what you're seeing here and what you're hearing here.
Yes, because the website that was visited by the computer at Erin Patterson's house 14 months before the lunch, it actually had the full URL there, and the jurors have this on their iPads. So they've got the URL, but the judge said, don't go clicking those links, don't go doing your own investigations. One thing I must say about the judge is I think he's been really good at clarifying things as well. Like sometimes he's asked some really obvious questions, but I think it's been for the jury's benefit. Like one question he asked today during the computer presentation is, what is software? Now, I am confident that Justice Beal knows what software is, but he's asking those kinds of questions to fill in some gaps, just in case there's anyone in the jury that may not know the answers to these things. Because, look, you and I, we've grown up with computers, but not everyone has. Yep. And we can't assume that people have knowledge about topics like computers or medical evidence or mushrooms.
Exactly. No, look, wonderful question, Quinn. Thank you for getting in touch. And our final question for today's episode is from Chris. He's asking, is there any mention about phone GPS data? Surely that would be more accurate than the tower pings that were discussed on Tuesday. Thank you for the coverage. Thank you for listening, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. We haven't heard anything about GPS phone data yet. The evidence through Matthew Sorrell was all about phone records through the carrier, Telstra, the phone company. However, we do know that Erin Patterson's phone was collected by police. So maybe we will hear that in the witnesses to come. We did hear in the openings that police mentioned 2 phones relating to Erin Patterson, and that there were some allegations of factory resets being done, and I believe 1 phone that was not recovered by police. We haven't got to that evidence yet, so that may also come in the coming days.
Thank you, Kristian. Thank you, Chris. I realise as well in Chris's question, I don't know if he's thanking us for the coverage or thanking the cell towers for the coverage. Chris, if it was a pun, great one. If it wasn't,
excellent.
We'll pay you for it anyway. Kristian, tomorrow, a bit more of Shaman Fox Henry?
Yes, we'll see more from Mr. Fox Henry. And also there was a witness from yesterday, a police officer, Mr. Tran. Now, we thought he would be coming back today to continue his evidence. Justice Beal told the court that they would, this is a fancy word, interpose Shaman Fox Henry's evidence first. And he told the jury that they would get back to Mr. Tran at some point in the trial. So we haven't forgotten about him. Whether he comes up tomorrow we'll have to see.
Great. Thank you, Kristian. Make sure you've got the ABC Listen app and are following Mushroom Case Daily so you get every single episode of Mushroom Case Daily as soon as it drops, as soon as we pop it up there. So you can continue to learn words like interpose and deduce as we bring you the coverage of Erin Patterson's trial.
And Stocky, you haven't even heard the Latin terms yet, but luckily those are not said in front of the jury.
Oh, look, we had enough with the mushrooms, so I'm full up at the moment.
Mushroom Case Daily is produced by ABC Audio Studios and ABC News. It's presented by me, court reporter Kristian Silva, and producer Stephen Stockwell.
Our executive producer is Claire Rawlinson, and many thanks to the Victorian newsroom and Audio Studios manager Eric George. Also to our true crime colleagues Tim Roxburgh, Rachel Brown and Yasmin Parry, who are helping make this show a reality. This episode was produced on the land of the Gunai people.
Pop culture hot takes are everywhere.
But only one podcast helps you figure out what they really mean.
Stop everything! It's the place for you to unapologetically overthink pop culture.
With me, Beverly Wang.
And me, Hannah Reish.
Find Stop Everything now on the ABC Listen app.